Welcome to the world of daily life stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy listening. Arrival at the crossroads. The private jet terminal exuded an aura of exclusivity and opulence. The air inside was cool, tinged with the faint scent of leather upholstery and polished wood. The soft murmur of conversation floated beneath the hum of luxury jet engines on the tarmac. Travelers in tailored suits and designer dresses moved with an air of entitlement, each one a piece of the tableau depicting wealth and influence. Among them was Nina Evans, stepping out of her sleek black sedan with a quiet elegance that belied the storm she carried within. Her appearance was impeccable, tailored charcoal slacks, a crisp white blouse, and a blazer cut to perfection. Her natural hair framed her face like a crown, and her sharp eyes scanned the terminal with a composure that spoke of years of navigating spaces where she was often underestimated. As her heels clicked against the pristine marble floors, heads turned. Not because she sought attention, but because her presence demanded it. Nina had learned long ago that authenticity was her armor. Yet, no amount of confidence could silence the whispers. "Do you know who she is?" a young crew member whispered to his colleague, unable to hide his curiosity. "Not a clue," the other replied, his tone laced with subtle doubt. "Doesn't look like the type to own a jet." Nina caught the exchange, but didn't flinch. The skepticism didn't surprise her, it was a tune she'd heard her entire life. Instead, she walked to the reception desk, where a woman with an immaculate bun and a polished smile greeted her with polite formality. "Good afternoon, ma'am. How can I help you?" Nina met the receptionist's gaze, her voice steady and calm. "I'm here for the Aurora jet on the East Tarmac." The receptionist's practiced smile wavered, and confusion flickered across her face. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Are you sure you're in the right place? That's a private jet." "I'm aware," Nina replied smoothly. "I'll need access immediately." The receptionist hesitated, her professional demeanor cracking under the weight of her assumptions. "May I ask who you're here with? Perhaps I can call someone to verify." "I am Nina Evans," she interrupted, her voice firm but not unkind. "The CEO of Horizon Industries. The Aurora jet is mine." For a moment, silence hung between them. The receptionist blinked, clearly taken aback, before hurriedly recovering. "Oh, my apologies, Ms. Evans. Let me confirm that for you." She picked up the phone, her previously calm tone now tinged with embarrassment. Nina stood patiently, though the situation gnawed at her. She had hoped to avoid such encounters today. After all, she was here for a critical meeting, a negotiation to finalize Horizon Industries' acquisition of a major technology firm. It was a moment years in the making, the culmination of relentless work, sleepless nights, and the ability to make bold moves when others hesitated. As the receptionist made her call, a man in a dark uniform, clearly part of the ground staff, approached. His expression was guarded as he sized her up. "Excuse me," he said brusquely. "Can I help you?" Nina resisted the urge to roll her eyes. "I've already explained. I'm here for my jet." He glanced at the receptionist, who gave a slight shrug, as if to say she hadn't yet confirmed the claim. The man frowned and turned back to Nina. "You're claiming the Aurora jet belongs to you?" "Yes," Nina said plainly. "I'll need to see some identification," he said, crossing his arms. The demand was unnecessary, no one else in the terminal seemed to face such scrutiny, but Nina handed over her identification without argument. As the man studied her driver's license, she caught the faintest smirk on his lips, as if he was waiting for her story to fall apart. "Wait here," he said curtly before walking away, her ID in hand. Nina inhaled deeply, steadying herself. This wasn't new, but that didn't make it less infuriating. To keep herself calm, she focused on the larger picture, the millions of lives her company impacted, the innovative strides her team was making, and the vision she had nurtured from a small startup to a global powerhouse. Minutes ticked by before the man returned, his demeanor markedly different. His expression was a mix of discomfort and forced politeness. "Apologies, Ms. Evans. Everything checks out." I'll have someone escort you to the tarmac. Nina accepted her ID and nodded coolly. Thank you. As she followed the escort through the terminal, she could feel the stares and whispers trailing behind her. She knew what they were thinking, that she didn't fit their mold, that she was an anomaly in a world they thought they owned. But Nina wasn't here to fit their expectations. She was here to redefine them. When she reached the Aurora jet, she paused to admire it. Sleek and gleaming, the aircraft was a symbol of everything she had built, a tangible representation of her resilience, her intellect, and her refusal to accept limits. Her pilot, Captain Russell, greeted her warmly at the foot of the stairs. Ms. Evans, everything is ready for takeoff. Thank you, Captain, she said, her tone softening. As she ascended the stairs, she felt a surge of pride and determination. She had earned every step, every accolade, every victory. And she wasn't about to let anyone diminish her accomplishments. Once inside, she settled into her seat, her mind already turning to the upcoming meeting. This acquisition would be a game-changer, not just for her company, but for the industry as a whole. It was a reminder of why she fought so hard, for herself, for her team, and for the generations of dreamers who would follow in her footsteps. The engines roared to life, and as the jet soared into the sky, Nina felt the weight of the terminal incident begin to fade. She had bigger battles to fight and more important victories to claim. This was just the beginning. Confronting assumptions. The Aurora jet ascended smoothly, cutting through the skies with the precision of a well-oiled machine. From her seat, Nina gazed out at the endless expanse of clouds, letting the serene view soothe the irritation lingering from the terminal incident. The moment should have been inconsequential, a mere blip in her day, but it gnawed at her. It wasn't the first time she had been underestimated, and it likely wouldn't be the last. Still, the audacity of the ground staff to assume she didn't belong struck a deeper chord. As much as she'd achieved, there were always those eager to remind her of invisible barriers they believed she should respect. With a sigh, Nina reached for her laptop. She had work to do. The acquisition she was about to finalize would solidify Horizon Industries as a leader in renewable energy technologies. It was a deal that had been months in the making, requiring meticulous strategy and unyielding determination. For Nina, it was personal. This wasn't just a business venture, it was a statement of intent, a testament to her ability to lead with vision and integrity. As she opened her files, her thoughts drifted to her beginnings. Born and raised in the heart of Detroit, Nina had always been surrounded by resilience. Her mother, a nurse, worked double shifts to provide for their family, and her father, a mechanic, taught her the value of precision and persistence. They had instilled in her a belief that nothing was out of reach if she was willing to work for it. Yet, the path to success had been anything but smooth. Nina's journey through corporate America was fraught with challenges, many of which stemmed from her refusal to conform to expectations. Early in her career, she had often found herself the only black woman in the room. It wasn't just her ideas that were questioned, it was her presence, her right to be there. But each doubt cast her way had only fueled her resolve. She had no intention of dimming her light to make others comfortable. Her rise had been meteoric, but not without sacrifice. As a young entrepreneur, she'd poured every ounce of herself into Horizon Industries, transforming it from a small tech startup into a billion-dollar powerhouse. Along the way, she had learned to navigate the complexities of leadership while remaining true to her principles. Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft chime of the intercom. Ms. Evans, Captain Russell's voice came through, calm and steady. We've encountered some turbulence ahead, but it's nothing to worry about. Please fasten your seatbelt. Nina clicked her seatbelt into place, grateful for the reminder. Turbulence was nothing new, neither in the air nor in life. As the jet steadied, she returned her focus to her laptop, reviewing the agenda for her meeting. The acquisition hinged on a critical negotiation with the CEO of the tech company, a brilliant but notoriously egotistical man named Richard Calloway. Their previous interactions had been cordial, but tense. Richard was accustomed to being the smartest person in the room, and he didn't hide his skepticism about working under Nina's leadership. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she strategized her approach. Richard was brilliant but impulsive, driven by his ego and a need for validation. Nina knew that the key to securing the deal lay not in challenging him directly but in demonstrating the mutual benefits of the partnership. She didn't need to win a battle of wits, she needed to win his trust. A light knock at the door of the cabin interrupted her thoughts. It was her assistant, Jordan, a sharp and resourceful young man who had been with her since the early days of Horizon Industries. He stepped inside, his tablet in hand. "Nina, I've compiled the latest financial reports and projections for the acquisition," he said, handing her the device. "I thought you might want to review them before we land." "Perfect timing, as always," Nina said with a small smile. "Thanks, Jordan." He nodded but hesitated before leaving. "By the way," he added, "I heard about what happened at the terminal. Are you okay?" Nina leaned back in her seat, her smile fading. "It's nothing new," she said, her tone measured. "But that doesn't mean it doesn't bother me." Jordan frowned. "It's infuriating. They had no right to treat you like that." "They didn't," Nina agreed. "But this is the reality we face. I can't let it derail me, not today." Jordan nodded, his expression softening. "You're right. But just know that the entire team is behind you. We all see how hard you fight, and it inspires us." Nina's chest tightened at his words. She had always believed in leading by example, but hearing that her efforts resonated with her team meant more than she could express. "Thank you, Jordan. That means a lot." After he left, she returned to her work, her resolve stronger than ever. The incident at the terminal was just another reminder of why she fought so fiercely, not just for herself, but for those who came after her. Every time she shattered a barrier, she created a path for others to follow. As the jet began its descent, Nina closed her laptop and took a moment to collect her thoughts. The meeting ahead would require every ounce of her focus and finesse. She wasn't just negotiating a deal, she was setting the stage for a new chapter in her company's story. When the jet landed, she was greeted by a sleek black SUV waiting on the tarmac. The driver opened the door for her, and as she slid inside, she felt a surge of determination. She had faced countless challenges to get to this point, and she wasn't about to let anything stand in her way. The car sped toward the downtown high-rise, where the meeting was to take place. Nina glanced at her reflection in the window, her expression calm but resolute. She had faced doubts, dismissals, and outright hostility, but she had always emerged stronger. Today would be no different. Negotiating power. The downtown high-rise loomed ahead, its glass facade reflecting the mid-morning sun. Nina's car pulled to a halt at the entrance, where a valet opened her door with a polite nod. She stepped out, adjusting her blazer with practiced ease, and strode into the lobby, her heels clicking sharply against the polished tiles. Inside, the building buzzed with energy. Executives hurried across the floor with phones pressed to their ears, and a constant hum of activity filled the space. Nina moved with purpose toward the elevators, her presence commanding attention even in the flurry of movement. As the elevator doors closed, sealing her off from the chaos below, Nina allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The stakes of today's meeting were high. Horizon Industries' acquisition of Callaway Technologies wasn't just a business decision, it was a declaration of intent. This deal would position her company as a leader in renewable energy innovation, with access to cutting-edge battery storage solutions developed by Callaway's team. But Richard Callaway was a wild card. The man was brilliant, no doubt about it, but his brilliance was matched only by his arrogance. Nina had spent months navigating his mercurial personality, walking the fine line between assertiveness and diplomacy. She had to balance earning his respect without bruising his ego, a challenge she approached with the precision of a chess master. The elevator chimed, and the doors slid open to reveal the penthouse conference floor. Glass walls offered sweeping views of the city skyline, and the space was a testament to modern design, sleek, minimalistic, and undeniably expensive. A receptionist greeted her with a smile, her polished demeanor a stark contrast to the terminal encounter earlier that day. Ms. Evans, welcome. Mr. Calloway is expecting you, she said, gesturing toward the large conference room at the end of the corridor. Nina nodded her thanks and walked toward the room, her stride steady and confident. As she entered, she was greeted by the sight of Richard Calloway himself, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows. He turned at the sound of her approach, his sharp blue eyes narrowing slightly. "Nina," he said, his tone cordial, but laced with an undertone of challenge. "Right on time. I appreciate punctuality." "Of course," Nina replied, offering a polite smile. "It's good to see you again, Richard." He motioned toward the table, where several of his key team members were already seated. Nina's team had arrived as well, Jordan and two senior executives who had been instrumental in shaping the terms of the deal. As they exchanged greetings and settled into their seats, the atmosphere in the room grew taut with anticipation. Richard wasted no time diving into the agenda. "Let's get straight to it," he said, leaning forward. "I've reviewed the latest terms, and while I agree with most of them, there are a few points I'd like to revisit." He launched into a detailed critique of the proposed agreement, pointing out clauses he found unfavorable. Nina listened intently, her expression calm and composed. She had anticipated his objections. Richard was nothing if not predictable when it came to guarding his interests. When he finished, she leaned forward, her tone measured and confident. "Richard, I understand your concerns, but let me clarify why these terms are structured as they are. Our primary goal is to ensure a seamless integration of our teams and technologies. The clauses you're referencing are designed to protect both parties and lay the groundwork for long-term collaboration." Richard raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a faint smirk. "You make a compelling argument, Nina. But I can't help wondering, are these terms truly equitable, or are they tilted in Horizon's favor?" Nina met his gaze without flinching. "This deal isn't just about equity, it's about synergy. Callaway Technologies has incredible innovations, but scaling them globally requires infrastructure and resources that Horizon can provide. Together, we can achieve more than either of us could alone. That's the value proposition I'm presenting." The room fell silent as her words hung in the air. Richard tapped his fingers on the table, his expression thoughtful. His team exchanged glances, clearly impressed by Nina's poise and clarity. After a moment, Richard leaned back in his chair, his smirk softening into a genuine smile. "You're good, Nina. I'll give you that." Nina allowed herself a small smile in return. "I'm not here to be good, Richard. I'm here to be effective." The tension in the room eased as a ripple of laughter broke the ice. Even Richard chuckled, nodding in acknowledgement. "Fair enough," he said. "Let's continue." For the next 2 hours, they worked through the remaining points of contention, each side making concessions where necessary. Nina's team presented data-driven arguments, while Richard's team countered with their own analysis. The negotiation was intense but respectful, a testament to the mutual recognition of each other's expertise. By the end of the meeting, the terms were finalized. Richard stood and extended his hand toward Nina. "Congratulations, Nina. I look forward to seeing what we can accomplish together." Nina shook his hand firmly, her eyes meeting his with unwavering confidence. "So do I, Richard. This is just the beginning." As the meeting adjourned, Nina felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. She had faced countless challenges to reach this point, and today's success was a reminder of what was possible when she refused to let doubt or prejudice hold her back. Back in the elevator, Jordan turned to her with a grin. "That was masterful, Nina. You had him eating out of your hand by the end." She smiled, her exhaustion tempered by the thrill of victory. "It's not about winning, Jordan. It's about creating something bigger than ourselves." He nodded, clearly inspired. "You did more than that today. You showed them what leadership looks like." As the elevator descended, Nina allowed herself a moment to bask in the achievement. The road ahead was still long, but she was ready for it. She had faced turbulence before, and she would face it again. But with each victory, she carved out a space not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. Today, she had not just negotiated a deal, she had reclaimed her power. And she wasn't done yet. The ripple effect. The sound of applause echoed through Horizon Industries' executive conference room as Nina concluded the announcement of the acquisition. Her team had gathered to celebrate the culmination of months of hard work, and their excitement was palpable. The deal with Callaway Technologies was a milestone, a victory that would position Horizon as a leader in sustainable energy solutions for decades to come. Nina stood at the head of the room, her voice steady and clear as she addressed her team. "This achievement is not just about numbers or technology," she said. "It's about what we stand for: innovation, integrity, and impact. Every one of you contributed to this success, and I couldn't be prouder." The room erupted into cheers, and for a moment, Nina allowed herself to savor the joy of the moment. But beneath her calm exterior, her mind was already turning to the next steps. The integration of Callaway Technologies into Horizon's operations would be a complex process, requiring careful coordination and strategic planning. There was no room for complacency. As the celebration wound down, Jordan approached her, a look of admiration on his face. "You've done it again, Nina. The team is on fire. Everyone's inspired." She smiled, grateful for his unwavering support. "It's a team effort, Jordan. Always has been." "True," he agreed, "but it's your leadership that sets the tone. You've built something incredible here." Nina nodded, her thoughts briefly drifting to the challenges she had faced along the way. The skepticism, the resistance, the constant need to prove herself, it had all been worth it to create a company that not only thrived but also made a difference. Later that evening, Nina sat alone in her office, the city lights twinkling outside her window. The day's events had been a whirlwind, but now, in the quiet of the night, she found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. Her thoughts were interrupted by the chime of her phone. It was an email from an employee, a young engineer named Maya, who had recently joined Horizon. The subject line read, "Thank you for being an inspiration." Curious, Nina opened the email. Subject, "Thank you for being an inspiration. Dear Ms. Evans. I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude for the example you set as a leader. Watching you navigate the challenges of this acquisition with such grace and determination has been incredibly inspiring. As a young Black woman entering the tech industry, I've often felt the weight of expectations and assumptions. But seeing you lead with confidence and authenticity has given me hope. You've shown me that it's possible to succeed without compromising who you are, and for that, I can't thank you enough. I'm proud to be part of Horizon Industries and excited to contribute to our shared mission. Thank you for everything you do. Sincerely, Maya Thompson." Nina's heart swelled as she read the email. It wasn't the first time she had received messages like this, but each one reminded her why she fought so hard. Her success wasn't just about her, it was about breaking barriers, creating opportunities, and inspiring others to dream bigger. She replied to Maya's email, her words thoughtful and sincere. Subject, "Thank you for being an inspiration. Dear Maya. Thank you for your kind words. They mean more to me than I can express. Your journey is just beginning, and I have no doubt that you will achieve incredible things. Remember, the challenges you face will only make you stronger. Embrace them, and never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. I'm proud to have you on our team and excited to see the impact you'll make at Horizon and beyond. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you ever need guidance or support. Warm regards, Nina." After sending the email, Nina leaned back in her chair, a sense of fulfillment washing over her. The work she did wasn't just about deals and profits, it was about leaving a legacy, one that would pave the way for others to follow. The next morning, Nina was scheduled to speak at a leadership summit, a commitment she had accepted months ago but now felt particularly significant in light of recent events. As she prepared her speech, she thought about the theme of the summit, redefining leadership in a changing world. On the day of the event, Nina took the stage, to a standing ovation. The room was filled with executives, entrepreneurs, and aspiring leaders from around the world. She adjusted the microphone, her gaze sweeping over the audience before she began. Leadership, she said, her voice steady and resonant, isn't about titles or power. It's about responsibility. It's about recognizing the impact we have on others and using that influence to create meaningful change. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. When I started Horizon Industries, I didn't set out to change the world. I simply wanted to solve a problem, to make a difference. But along the way, I realized that leadership isn't just about achieving goals, it's about inspiring others to see what's possible. Nina shared stories from her journey, highlighting the challenges she had faced and the lessons she had learned. She spoke of resilience, authenticity, and the importance of creating spaces where everyone could thrive. Her words resonated deeply, and by the time she concluded, the audience was on their feet, their applause thunderous. After the summit, attendees lined up to speak with her, sharing their own stories and seeking her advice. Among them was a young man who introduced himself as an entrepreneur from Ghana. "Your words have given me the courage to push forward," he said, his voice earnest. "Thank you for showing us what's possible." Nina smiled, her heart full. She had come a long way from the girl who had dared to dream big in Detroit, and now, her journey was inspiring others to do the same. As she left the event, Nina felt a renewed sense of purpose. The ripple effects of her actions were spreading, touching lives in ways she hadn't anticipated. And she knew that this was only the beginning of the impact she could make. Her story wasn't just about overcoming obstacles, it was about building bridges, challenging norms, and creating a future where success was defined not by who you were but by what you brought to the table. And for Nina, that future was worth fighting for. The legacy of courage. Nina Evans stood at the pinnacle of her career, but she understood better than most that the work was far from over. In the weeks following the acquisition of Callaway Technologies, Horizon Industries began rolling out initiatives that would revolutionize the renewable energy sector. Public accolades poured in, but for Nina, the most rewarding moments came from the smaller, quieter victories: the employee who felt empowered to speak up, the young girl who saw Nina on the cover of a magazine and realized she could dream bigger, the communities now benefiting from Horizon's innovations. One such community was Flint, Michigan. Nina had a personal connection to the city. Growing up in nearby Detroit, she had witnessed firsthand the struggles of industrial towns left behind by economic shifts. Flint's water crisis had left scars that ran deep, and Nina saw an opportunity to make a difference. The Water Project. Nina's voice resonated through the packed auditorium in Flint, where she had been invited to announce Horizon's new initiative, Pure Horizons. The program would leverage Callaway Technologies' advancements in water filtration and renewable energy to provide sustainable, clean water solutions to underserved communities, starting with Flint. "This isn't charity," Nina said, her tone firm but compassionate. "This is accountability. It's about creating systems that prioritize people over profit and ensuring that no community is left behind." Her words struck a chord. The audience erupted into applause, their faces a mix of hope and gratitude. After the event, a local activist approached her, tears in her eyes. "We've been fighting for so long," she said. "Thank you for not just listening but acting." Nina placed a hand on the woman's shoulder. "This is only the beginning. Together, we'll make sure the future looks nothing like the past." The initiative was a resounding success. Within months, Horizon had installed solar-powered water filtration systems across Flint, providing thousands with access to clean water. The project became a model for other cities, and soon, Nina found herself at the forefront of a movement redefining corporate responsibility. Mentorship and growth. Back at Horizon's headquarters, Nina initiated another program close to her heart: Elevate Leaders. This mentorship initiative paired rising talent within the company with seasoned executives, ensuring that the next generation of leaders would be diverse, innovative, and prepared to tackle the challenges of a rapidly changing world. Maya, the young engineer who had emailed Nina, was among the first to join the program. Under Nina's mentorship, Maya flourished, taking on increasingly complex projects and eventually leading a groundbreaking initiative to develop affordable, portable solar panels for rural communities. During a one-on-one meeting, Maya confided in Nina. "You know, I never thought someone like me could lead a project like this," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Why not?" Nina asked, her gaze steady. "You have the talent, the vision, and the drive. The only thing standing in your way is the belief that you don't belong. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise." Maya nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "I won't." "Thank you, Nina." Nina smiled. "Good. Now go make it happen." Facing the boardroom. Not everyone was as enthusiastic about Nina's vision. Within Horizon's boardroom, murmurs of dissent began to rise. Some board members questioned the financial viability of projects like Pure Horizons and Elevate Leaders, arguing that the company's resources would be better spent on initiatives with a clearer return on investment. Nina listened carefully to their concerns during a quarterly board meeting. When the time came for her to respond, she stood, her presence commanding. "Let me be clear," she began, her voice calm but resolute. "Our success is not measured solely by profits. It's measured by the impact we make, the lives we change, and the legacy we leave. Yes, we must be financially responsible, but we must also be morally responsible." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "The initiatives we've launched are not just expenses, they're investments. In our people, in our communities, and in the future of this company. And if we have the courage to lead with purpose, the returns, financial and otherwise, will follow." The room fell silent. One by one, the board members nodded, their skepticism giving way to respect. Nina's vision wasn't just bold, it was undeniable. The ripple effect expands. The impact of Nina's leadership extended far beyond Horizon Industries. Her success inspired a wave of change across industries, sparking conversations about equity, sustainability, and the power of authentic leadership. Conferences invited her to speak, universities honored her with awards, and aspiring leaders sought her guidance. But for Nina, the most meaningful moments were those that reaffirmed her mission. At a community event in Detroit, she met a young girl who shyly handed her a crayon drawing. It depicted a woman standing atop a building labeled Horizon Industries, with a sun shining brightly above her. "This is you," the girl said, her voice barely above a whisper. Nina knelt to meet the girl's gaze, her heart full. "Thank you. It's beautiful. What's your name?" "Amara," the girl replied. "Well, Amara," Nina said, holding the drawing carefully, "I'll keep this with me as a reminder of why I do what I do. And one day, when you're ready, I hope you'll join me in making a difference." Amara's eyes lit up, and she nodded vigorously. "I will." Full circle. Years later, as Nina prepared to step down as CEO to focus on global advocacy work, she reflected on her journey. The doubts, the dismissals, the challenges, all of it had shaped her into the leader she had become. And though her role at Horizon was ending, her mission was far from complete. At her farewell event, she addressed her team one last time. "Leadership isn't about holding on to power," she said. "It's about empowering others. My greatest accomplishment isn't what I built, it's the people who will carry this vision forward." As the room erupted into applause, Nina felt a profound sense of peace. She had fought for fairness, for respect, for change. And in doing so, she had created a legacy that would endure long after her time. The next chapter awaited, but for now, Nina Evans stood at the crossroads of her past and future, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. She had reclaimed her power, shattered assumptions, and proved that true leadership could transform not just companies, but the world.